The key question is, what were the major factors in the failure of Italian nationalism from 1820 to 1849? By the middle of 1849, it was clear that the revolutions had failed, just as they had in 1820 and 1831. It seemed like the same factors were at play during all three failed revolutions. There was failure throughout Italy. In Sicily, Neapolitan rule had been reestablished, and the two Sicilies had been forcibly reunited under an even more absolute and repressive government than before. In the Papal States, the Roman Republic had been destroyed, and the Pope restored to his temporal power by the French soldiers who continued to occupy Rome. All expectations that Pius IX would be a liberal supporter of national unity for Italy were shattered. Tuscany, Modena, and Parma found themselves again under absolute rule. The Venetian Republic and Lombardy came under tighter Austrian control. Worst of all, the strongest state, Piedmont, had suffered humiliating defeat by the Austrians in two battles. The only success for the revolutionaries was that the Constitution, the Statute, granted to Piedmont by Charles Albert, survived and would continue to do so, eventually becoming the basis of the constitution of a new United Kingdom of Italy in 1860. But none of the other constitution wrung from their rulers by revolutionaries survived. None of the rulers forced to escape from their states was away for long, and none of the states that gained independence, Sicily, Lombardy, and Venetia, were able to retain it. The revolutions had been an almost total failure, and a failure which had involved suffering and death for a very large number of people. As in the earlier revolutions, Italy suffered from major drawbacks: a lack of unity, a lack of popular support, and a lack of international allies. There was a lack of cooperation between the revolutionary groups. Those in Sicily and Naples were particularly at loggerheads. In Piedmont, Charles Albert would not accept volunteers from other states in his army or work with any other revolutionary groups unless they first declared their loyalty to the Piedmontese royal family. The revolutionaries themselves were divided in their aims. Liberals believed that the granting of a constitution by the ruler was the necessary first step everywhere, but the radicals favored republics. Both groups wanted to expel the foreign occupying power Austria, but they could agree on little else. Also, there was no universally acceptable national leader who could coordinate policy. Of the three possible candidates, Mazzini, Pope Pius IX, and Charles Albert, none was acceptable to everyone. Local revolutionary leaders had no central guidance, and the provisional governments that they set up could be any of the following: moderate, extremist, liberal, radical, republican, democratic, or monarchist. In the end, it was not just that provisional governments and revolutionary movements lacked guidance in 1848 and 49. They were also inexperienced, weak, and lacking in resources, particularly military ones. They could not maintain themselves in power, having gained it, partly owing to a lack of support from the mass population, except perhaps while fighting was actually going on. The Liberals did not in any case wish to encourage popular support or to involve the peasants. Politics for them was a middle-class affair. With few exceptions, peasants found themselves no better off under a liberal-dominated revolutionary government than they had been before. Social reform was not important to liberals, and life did not improve for ordinary people. The other vital explanation of revolutionary failure was the military power of Italy's enemies. Austria's military supremacy was probably the single most important factor in the failure of the revolutions. The Austrian armies were superior in numbers, better equipped, and much better led than any other army in the peninsula. In any conflict, they were bound to win, even if the revolutionary forces had been able to present a united front, which they did not. It was the Austrians who took the leading role in restoring the old regimes in 1820, 1830s, and again in 1849. In 1848 and 49, Italian revolutionaries clearly needed allies to counterbalance the might of Austria, but the Pope's influence on the Catholic powers of Europe was clearly counter-revolutionary. France, Austria's traditional enemy, might have seemed at one stage a possible ally, but in fact France's only military action was to crush the Roman Republic, and it was ranged against Italian nationalists. In such a situation, there seemed very little cause for optimism in the nationalist camps. The Italian situation was unexpectedly about to change in the 1850s. In Piedmont, the Constitution remained in force and gave opportunities for political life to continue in ways that were not possible elsewhere in Italy. Refugees from other states came to Piedmont and settled there, more than 200,000 in Turin and Genoa. They gave Piedmont a cosmopolitan air and a more nationalist flavor, which paved the way for what was to come in the person of Count Cavour. He was to be one of the great figures in the history of the unification of Italy. But for Italian nationalism to succeed, there also had to be changes in European politics, and in particular, the emergence of a powerful new ally, Napoleon III of France. The failure of 1848 helped to clarify certain facts. Rebellion would not work. Any attempt at progress required a united effort if it was to stand a chance of success. Such an effort would fail without committed leadership which all could accept. Any common political program must not antagonize those prepared to fight for independence. Middle-class nationalists did not want socialism at any price. Also, foreign support was vital if Austrian rule was to end. The diversity of ideas and aims had divided the patriots, causing the failures of these revolutions.